We're going to start the action off with the wild and unpredictable sport of mud racing as we take you to beautiful Albany, New York and the Knickerbocker Arena. Now, the object of mud racing is to complete a run of 80 feet through a 12-foot wide by 36-inch deep pit of mud as fast as you can. Now, the hard part is that the driver also has to stop the vehicle in 80 feet of sand and dirt, or the vehicle will be disqualified. Let's go to Scott Douglas with all of the first round mud racing action.
Thanks, Tom, and welcome race fans into the Knickerbocker Arena, Albany, New York, where we have transformed the arena floor into a huge mud pit. And on hand, the superstars of the U.S. Hot Rod Association's mud racing circuit, ready to try and grab the victory here today on Super Track. And we're going to jump right into the mud with the intruder, Vandalia, Ohio's John Marsh, first up today on Super Track. Oh, he can't stop it in time, and right off the bat, we've got a disqualification. The intruder, John Marsh, blasting through the out-of-bounds marker at the end of the run, and he will be DQ'd. Look at the look of disgust in his eyes. You saw him as he finished the run, beat his hands up against the roll cage, very unhappy with what is going to be an unprofitable shot today in Albany. On the replay, he looks great coming through the mud. That's not his problem. When he locked the brakes up, he just waited too long, apparently, because he cannot get it stopped anywhere close to that out-of-bounds marker, and that's the rule in U.S. Hot Rod Association competition. You've got to shut it down within 80 feet of the finish line. Again, you get a great look here on our isolated camera, close up and personal, with John Marsh and Vandalia, Ohio's intruder. It's a run he's not happy with at all because it's a disqualification, and it won't put him anywhere into the prize money payoff today on Super Track. So, Intruder is our first competitor, but he'll not be one to beat. The disqualification effectively takes him out of the competition in the first round, where you're trying to make the fast four to come back in our Super Track shootout just a little bit later. Intercourse, Pennsylvania's Alvin Esch will be pulling to the line next. He calls his machine the Beef T Blue. Nothing to beat, so Alvin Esch will be trying to set down the fast time. That's going to do it. Whatever he recorded is going to be what they're shooting at now, because the Beef T Blue gets it stopped in plenty of time coming through the 80-foot mud pit in Albany. We're going to look at it again on the replay as Alvin Esch, I think, will be pretty happy with the run. He got a good launch at the start line. Well, there you can see he really didn't spin much. The wheels immediately take hold right in the middle of the course. He gets a real good run here and then shuts it down in time. Notice how he's turning his wheel to the right at the end of the run. That's something you're probably going to see several competitors do here today. Turn it any way they can, because it doesn't matter if you finish sideways, on your nose, on your roof. Just so you don't go through the out-of-bounds barrier, it's considered a legal run. And the Beef T Blue has a good one right there. The time is going to come in at 2 seconds flat. That's a good start for Alvin Esch out of Intercourse, Pennsylvania in that 1991 Chevy S10. Well, up next, we'll get the Bonkers machine, another Chevrolet. Bonkers is Mike Camello out of Mentor, Ohio. Time to beat, 2 seconds flat. Shuts it down. Ooh, barely in time. You can see just how close he got to the out-of-bounds marker. A big sigh of relief, because it will be an official run, and at least for now, has him sitting, I believe, in second place. I don't think we're going to find that time better than Beef T Blue a moment ago. And the reason is coming up right here. Look, see how he kind of kicks off to his right? That's just enough to cost you when you're dealing in hundredths of a second. And indeed, Mike Camello out of Mentor, Ohio in the Bonkers Chevrolet otherwise had himself a pretty good run and shuts it down in time. We'll get another look from a different angle on the replay, and you'll see that right at the beginning is where it cost him in terms of time. Bonkers ends up kicking off to the right. Sometimes that's a driver mistake, and sometimes you just hit a rut in the mud. Not sure what happened to Bonkers, but it almost sent him out of bounds. He straightens it up, but it cost him just enough time to keep him off the pace that was set earlier by the Beef T Blue. Bonkers and Mike Camello, 2.22 seconds for the driver from Mentor, Ohio, and look how close he was to going out of bounds. Nonetheless, a good run for Camello. He's second for the moment. Up next is one of the best in the business. Out of Canton, Michigan, here's Tony Fioret, and Let's Boogie number 2. Dandy run right there for Let's Boogie 2. the Canton, Michigan 1927 T Roadster. Big block Chevrolet power was looking fine. We're going to look at it again on the replay. You can see the thumbs up from Tony. He's got to be happy with that run. As a mud racer, you know when you've had the shot you want. And I don't think Tony really could have put one in much better. You're going to see it here. It really stays straight. He got off the line in great shape. No problem getting bogged down in the mud. Didn't get knocked around in the rut. And then shuts it down in great shape in the shutdown area. Boy, let's Boogie, too, looking good on that run. We're waiting for the time to come in, and I think we're going to see our first sub-2-second run. Let's watch it again from a different angle, and you're going to see almost a picture-perfect run in mud racing and U.S. Hot Rod Association action from Tony Fioret. And let's Boogie 2. There it is, our first sub-2-second run of the day, 1.951. That is now the time to beat, and it belongs to Let's Boogie 2. Well, one of the top competitors everywhere we go in U.S. Hot Rod competition is this guy out of Holland, Michigan, Jeff Sturken, and the Devastation Chevrolet. Outstanding run, and he shuts it down in time. No real reaction. Jeff Sturken's a cool competitor, but he knows he's got a good one right there. We'll get a look at it on the replay, and much like Let's Boogie 2, you're going to see Devastation get off the line in great shape and keep it nice and straight through the pit. Boy, mud just flying everywhere. One of the exciting aspects of the sport is to see it kick high, almost like a rooster tail from hydroplanes. Actually, on the replay, you can see at the finish line he was a little sideways, but at that time, he had already pretty much recorded the time he needed. Once again, you're going to look at him from the side, and it's just a nice run from Devastation all the way around. Jeff Sturken out of Holland, Michigan. He and the Let's Boogie 2 crew do battle all over the country. A couple of Wolverines out of Michigan. And this time, it looks like Devastation comes through with a time that will beat his buddy out of Michigan. Indeed, 1.946. It's now Devastation sitting number one. Up next, the S-Kicker. Out of Boonесmill, Virginia, Jeremy Finley, 1932 Coupe. And shuts it down in plenty of time. A good-looking run for the S-Kicker. We'll check it on the replay. Now, he's got to beat a time of 1.946 to be the fast time. He's got to get it under 2.22 to at least for now be in the Fast Four. And remember, everybody we're seeing in the first round is trying to get into the Fast Four. And you can see right there from that reaction, Jeremy Finley pointing up to the crowd. I think he knows he had himself a good run right there. We'll look at it on the replay, and everything nice and straight. No problems, as you can see. And as a matter of fact, it looks like one of the smoother rides we've seen thus far. And again, as I talked about earlier, cutting those wheels at the end of the run can help you keep her in bounds. Jeremy Finley shows you just how to do it right there. A different angle on the replay. And you're just not going to find a much better looking run here in Albany than that one right there from the S-Kicker and Jeremy Finley. Gets a little bucking bronco action at the end, but shuts it down in plenty of time. And looky here, the time, 1.940 by 6 1/1000ths of a second. The new number one time goes to Jeremy Finley and the S-Kicker out of Boonесmill, Virginia. Now we go to Ewington, Ohio's Blue MAXX. This is Melvin Brown in a 1991 Jeep. Shuts it down in plenty of time, although it did not look like an especially good run. We'll check it out on the replay. Melvin Brown and the Blue MAXX. Looked like he was kind of looking back toward the mud. I don't know if there was something he didn't like or felt like the mud may have kicked him a certain way. We'll see on the replay, but Melvin not real happy with the run. On the replay, you get a great look at him from this angle. Everything's staying right in the middle. It looks like the mud at the starting line is kind of sinking these guys down just a little bit. And that kind of gave him a weird kick. Other than that, no real problems on the run. I just don't think he got the hole shot he wanted to get. Shuts it down in plenty of time, a little up and down, if you will, on the end. But the Blue MAXX, nonetheless, makes a successful run and a legal run. Let's move to the side for the replay now as we get a look at Melvin Brown's Jeep out of Ewington, Ohio. Time to beat before the run was 1.940. It's still going to be 1.940 as Blue MAXX comes up short, not only of the fast time, but of making the Fast Four at 2.09. Right now, if you want to get into the Fast Four, you've got to get under 2 seconds. Well, here's a top contender to get under 2 seconds every time he hits the course. It's the Mud Patrol and Paul Schaefer out of Portage, Indiana. And does get it shut down in time. So the Mud Patrol with the police lights ablazing comes in with a good run. We'll see if it's fast enough to put him in the fast four. So hard to tell with the naked eye when you're dealing in thousandths of a second, but that looked like a pretty good run, and indeed, the indication right there, at least has been given to Paul Schaefer, that he's probably got himself in the fast four. We'll get the official time in just a moment, but you're going to see him cutting through the mud in great shape here on our replay. Gets a little kick right in the middle of the course, but other than that, no real problems, and Schaefer shuts it down in plenty of time. So the Mud Patrol coming through in fine fashion there. Let's get another look at it from a different angle as the 1932 Classic Chevrolet is looking good in Albany. Right at the end of the run, no problem at all, and there it is now, just getting on the binders to shut it down in time, and Schaefer is able to do the job. The time, 1.963. So that is not going to be the fastest time of the day, but it is good enough to put him among the fast four, at least for the moment. Mike Spina's Psychotic Beast, the 27 Chevy out of Kingston, New Hampshire, would love to make that fast four because those are the guys that come back in the shootout later. And, oh, he does get it shut down in time. He was rolling quite a bit at the end. I thought he was going to have a bit of a problem, but he does get it shut down. Got a smile on his face. He knows he got it stopped in time. He's now waiting to just see on the clock if he's going to make it back for the shootout. Mike Spina out of Kingston, New Hampshire, 27 Chevy. Gets off the line in decent shape. Really starting to get some ruts now at the starting line. We'll watch that as our other competitors come up, as that can really give you some problems if you start running too deep on a mud course. Spina right there, you can see shutting it down in good shape. And we'll get another look at the replay for the Psychotic Beast out of New Hampshire. 27 Chevy, of course, he stripped away everything on the top, just left with a roll cage around the top. And a 604 Chevrolet engine, not quite enough to get him where he wanted to this time because his time's a little bit slow. 2.11 will not be good enough to get into the fast four today in Knickerbocker Arena. Well, next up, we'll look at Insanity. Jeff Acker comes our way out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin in this 1923 Altered T. And he stops at about 3 feet short of the out-of-bounds mark, so it's a good-looking run for Jeff Acker. We'll see if it's good enough to put him in our shootout later today as the hot colors of Insanity showing up great here today on Super Tracks. Jeff doesn't look real happy with it if we can get any indication from reading his eyes at the finish line. We'll now read the replay and see what it shows. Boy, you can see once again at the start line, I can't point that out enough because I think that's going to have a big impact on these guys who have drawn late in the competition. They are really sinking down as soon as they leave the start line, and that's got to cost them some time. Other than that, it looked like Acker had a good run. Watch it here on the replay. You can see right there, they really go down in a hole. And the guys who drew early in the competition didn't have that problem. I think that's going to have an impact on who makes the shootout. Indeed, Insanity, with an otherwise great run, misses the fast four. His time, 2.007. He's got to get under that 2-second mark if anybody wants to get into the fast four. Tom Martin's a guy, though, who can go up against adverse conditions in his Super Trooper, the 3-time world champion out of Portage, Indiana. Not a strong run at all for Tom Martin. I don't know. We'll see on the replay if there might have been a problem with the course or if Tom Martin just didn't have it today. But normally the Super Trooper is a lock to make the fast four. With that run, I can assure you, he's not going to make it today. The replay coming up. Let's see if we can spot anything. Gets off the line. Didn't seem to be any problem as far as the engine goes or in the court. Oh, looky right there. Right in the middle of the course, he got shot straight toward the out-of-bounds marker, and he had to let off. If he doesn't let off at that point, he would have sailed out of bounds. The only thing Martin could do was let off of it a bit, try and straighten it out, and indeed, the Super Trooper is not going to make it into the fast four today. It's the middle of the course that is the undoing for the 3-time world champion Tom Martin. Right there as he shoots himself over near the out-of-bounds line, and it appeared he had to let off. That will cost him time. 2.053 is where it's going to come in for Tom Martin and the Super Trooper, and that's not enough to make the fast four. 2.053. Here comes Rapid. This will be the Jackson, New Jersey driver, Greg Noonan. Again, he's got to get under 2 seconds to make the shootout. The fast time is still 1.94. Nope, didn't have it there. Didn't get a whole lot of power generated off the starting line. It's a legal run, but he really never got a whole bunch of momentum going through the mud. The New Jersey driver, Greg Noonan, and his rapid 1932 coupe. Not quite the cubic inch displacement and horsepower that some of these other mudders have, and I think you saw it right there. He really didn't have any problems. Just really didn't look like Greg had quite enough to muscle it out the back end of this course and keep that momentum going. So Greg Noonan and Rapid, we'll get a look at it once again from our side camera and see if we can pick up anything else on the replay as the New Jersey driver comes blasting through. His time, however, well off what it takes to get into our shootout today. 2.31 seconds for Greg Noonan and Rapid. And again, you got to take it under that 2-second mark if you're going to play with the big boys in the shootout today. The Mystic Warrior, Matt Ward, brings out his big Ford from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, knowing he's got to take it under 2 seconds. Can't get it stopped in time. He might have been under 2 seconds, but it won't matter because Matt Ward could not keep the Mystic Warrior in bounds. He did everything he could, cranked the wheels on the brakes, but he still goes out of bounds backwards. Unhappy there, he's pulling out his portion of the kill switch, a safety device that's hooked into all these mud racers to kill the engines at the end of 80 feet. Let's watch it again on the replay as the Ford comes right at you here on Super Tracks. So far, he's in pretty good shape, but now at the end of the run, there you can see it, the rear end starts to kick out on it. And Matt Ward is trying to reel it back in at the end of the run to keep it in bounds. But what happens is, as the rear end kicks, it continues to kick all the way around. And by that point, the Mystic Warrior cannot keep it in bounds. I'll tell you, I'm going to give the young man some credit, though. Matt Ward, one of the young drivers on the circuit, did everything he could to stay in bounds at that point. And if he could have saved it before he hit that boundary, he might have had one of the better times of the day. Nonetheless, the Mystic Warrior has nothing but an exciting DQ for us here today on Super Tracks. One more time, the whole key to this run is at the end of the pit. When he starts to come around, he loops it, and that sends him out of bounds backward. He was unable to get traction from those front wheels to help try and dig in and stop him. And indeed, it's out of bounds for the Mystic Warrior. A wild ride, but it's a DQ nonetheless for Matt Ward out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Well, Melvin Brown, we saw him earlier in his blue MAXX. Melvin is now back in the Red Heat dragster out of Ewington, Ohio. Look out, he cannot get it stopped in time in that 80-foot shutdown area. It's going to be a DQ for Red Heat, but worse than that, I think Melvin Brown's got a serious repair bill. You can see the way the tires were pointed in different directions. That's not normal, friends, and Melvin is unhappy. I think all the problems, that's what he's looking at right now, is the front end of his dragster. And the problems, as we'll see on the replay, come for him more at the end of the shutdown, where for some reason it was getting kicked straight up in the air on it. Let's watch the run first as it comes right at you. Boy, he's getting an awful lot of bounce, and that takes time, and it hurts you quite a bit, and it's also pretty rough on the equipment. But here come the big bounces. There it was right there. Looks like he busted a tie rod at that point, and the wheels are just flopping in different directions. Unfortunately, it's back to the shop for Red Heat and Melvin Brown, and he's not even credited with an official run right there, as he'll be disqualified. We'll get a look at it from the side angle this time, and again, the story of this run for Melvin Brown is a rough ride through the mud and an even rougher ride through the shutdown area. And bang, there's the one that busted the tie rod. And from that point, that's all she wrote. He had no chance to get any grip and stop in time. Melvin Brown and Red Heat officially disqualified in Albany at the Knickerbocker Arena. One more to go, and that'll be Gold Fever from Schoolcraft, Michigan, and Ron Smith. Year in and year out, this is one of the top competitors in U.S. hot rod competition, but Smith is pulling off the belt. It appears that Gold Fever is broken. A mechanical problem will sideline Smith before he can even take a shot here in Albany, New York. And that means our Final Four is set for the shootout coming up a little bit later today on Super Tracks. And Gold Fever, Ron Smith, very disgusted about the fact that he's not going to be one of the Fast Four. It'll be the S-Kicker, Devastation, Let's Boogie, and Mud Patrol. They're coming back for the shootout on Super Tracks. The contenders from the pretenders here in the Knickerbocker Arena. It's down to a Final Four. And the only thing these guys have accomplished so far is to make it to the Final Four. These are the times that got them in. We now throw these times out. Everybody starts over. Tony Fiorat, who was third in qualifying, knows he's got a shot now. But he wants to make it perfect.
The course is getting tough, but we got good competition, and it's all going to be same down at the finals. We tried a couple things in the car. It didn't work. We're making changes in between rounds, and hopefully it'll straighten it out.
He's from Canton, Michigan. Let's Boogie 2. The 27 T Roadster is up first in the shootout. Stops it in plenty of time, and that's what they're going to have to beat. Let's Boogie 2 lays down the shot. We'll look at it again on the replay. Can't get a gauge from Tony. He's such a calm, cool, collected guy at the end of every run. You can't tell if he liked it or didn't like it. No smile. He's just going to wait and see how the leaderboard shows up after everybody makes their run. But I'll tell you, as we look at it on the replay, it looked awfully good from the naked eye. Once again, you're watching Tony Fiorat, Let's Boogie 2. A little bit off center there, but he keeps it in good shape and didn't seem to lose any momentum when he had to bend it back toward the center of the course. Shuts it down in plenty of time. And it's a run for Let's Boogie 2 that, at least for the moment, will put him on top in Albany, New York. One more time, this time from our side angle. You'll notice at the end of the run, he starts to fade a little bit to his left, but he corrects it in good shape, and Let's Boogie 2 has the time to beat here in the shootout at Albany, New York's Knickerbocker Arena. The time, 1.81. That is by far the fastest we've seen today. Devastation and Jeff Sturkin out of Holland, Michigan will try to take a shot at him.
Yeah, I like that run. It was the best we did in a long time. We ain't been this fast in, a couple weeks now. Did a few changes, did a couple different things. The pit's getting pretty rough, though. Hopefully we can hold it to the next one.
The unfortunate part for Jeff is that 1.946 he had earlier won't be good enough now. We'll see if he made up any ground, but he had to get faster if he wanted to knock Let's Boogie 2 from the #1 spot here today in Albany. It takes a 1.81 to grab the lead. Jeff Sturkin in Devastation, I believe, is going to come up a little bit short. Let's watch it on the replay, coming right into your living room as he goes down in the mud at Albany. Keeps it straight. Didn't have the problem at the end of the run. Well, yeah, he does kick a little bit sideways, much like Let's Boogie 2 did. But I don't think he had the momentum built up to that point, and that's why we're going to see that he comes up a little bit short. Again, we're looking at Jeff Sturkin and the Devastation Machine, the Chevrolet S10 out of Holland, Michigan, in the shootout at Albany. Now, as the time comes up, he had to beat a 1.81 to take the lead. Is it good enough? It is not. He's going to be in at 1.94, 13/100ths of a second short. Well, Jeremy Finley's next up in the S-Kicker. He had the fastest time of the first round.
I thought it was a good run. Hooked up real hard off line, come off the ground about halfway through.
How's the course?
It's a little rough. I believe it'd be all right. Got a little bit faster, I hope.
We'll find out. He's got to get faster to get the win in Albany. In time, he shuts it down, and the S-Kicker has put down a legal run. We'll see if it's fast enough to move him to #1. Let's Boogie 2 with a super time of 1.81 is going to be hard to beat. We'll check the replay and see if Jeremy Finley out of BOONESMILL, Virginia, got it done in the S-Kicker. First, we'll isolate you from the end zone. Pretty smooth right toward the middle. Again, you can see where the ruts are cut out that are throwing everybody toward the out-of-bounds sticks. He stays in good shape, shuts it down. And I can tell you, the S-Kicker's got to be happy with the run. I don't see anything he could have changed on it. It's just a matter of if he got enough horsepower to the wheels to cut the mud in Albany. Jeremy Finley's S-Kicker needs to beat a 1.81 to take the lead. Did he do it? Here comes the time from the U.S. Hot Rod officials. It's not enough. 1.97. He's third so far. Paul Schaefer, the Mud Patrol out of Portage, Indiana, is up next. The Eternal Optimist. He likes his shot in the shootout.
Yeah, the cars are spinning off or bad off the starting line, but I think the track's getting faster now, and then my Van Senna's engine, I think, is going to come alive in the shootout. I'm pretty sure we're going to run a lot better in the shootout.
We get ready. He's going to have to. His time to get into the shootout was the slowest of our 4 competitors. No way. No way for the Mud Patrol. He had to let off in the middle of the run. We'll watch it again on the replay. He was headed out of bounds, and Paul Schaefer, I know, is just disgusted right here. He thought he could win this competition, but he loses it in the middle of the pit. Watch it. His wheels are cocked from the start, and that throws him dead off center. Up he goes to side. He had to let out of the gas. Actually, I think he even tapped the brake, and you can't get away with tapping the brake in the mud and expect to win in U.S. hot rod competition. Paul Schaefer and the Mud Patrol with a run that I'm sure did not please him whatsoever. He is probably going to finish fourth in the shootout. Still had a good day, but not what he had hoped for here in the Fast Four at Albany. The Mud Patrol time will come in at 2 seconds flat. That's 2/10 just about off the winning time of Let's Boogie 2. So here's your final four, the way they came out in the shootout. Let's Boogie, Devastation, the S-Kicker, and the Mud Patrol. Tom Baldrick, it was boogie time in Albany.